Hello and welcome to the Story Behind the Stories, your weekly look at the pages of the Neepawa Banner Press. Always a pleasure to have you tune in and listen to some of the details behind the scenes of your local community newspaper. I'm Eoin Devereux, news and sports reporter with the Banner Press, and I'm joined this week by Casper Wehrhahn. Casper, great to have you in this week.
Good to be here once again, and we have a few different stories as usual to share with our viewers. Nice collection here, and I think we should be very proud of this paper.
Oh yeah, we got a whole heck of a lot of stories to cover. So much I'm going to tell you right now, right off the bat, we're not going to be able to cover them all in the 30-minute time span. We're going to do our best to cover some of the most interesting and intriguing ones that we were able to get down on the page this week. Let's start, as always, with the front page. Like this front page a lot this week. Sometimes you'll go with a relevant story. Sometimes you'll go with just an interesting picture. This week we were able to do a little bit of both. Right on the front page, Kira Patterson's mother was able to track this picture of a bunch of baby foxes on their farmland. Was able to get relatively close and get some adorable pictures of them. Just everybody was oohing and awing about them when we were seeing them. And it was wonderful to be able to share that on the front page this week. And right next to it, Kira Patterson has a story not related to the foxes, but very important. And it's something we've all been talking about over the last couple weeks, and that is the Federal Census. And the seemingly, Casper, really rough and sort of all over the place distribution of them. It really was sort of, a lot of people were really up in arms about the whole thing, weren't they?
Yeah, we had quite the mix of responses when we did our little poll on our social media page there. And just looking in like community groups as well, we've seen comments of whether or not they've received their census or like strange places that they found it in and all that sort of thing. But it's definitely been a very mixed bag this year in terms of getting those out there to be filled out for the due date of the 11th. Some people still haven't received theirs, as of the date of their comment on our poll. And it is a known issue. It was due to trouble recruiting, which is the thing that they cited there when Kira got in contact with them. So they are still accepting late censuses. Mm-hmm. And you should be sure that you fill those out and get them out as soon as you can, because we do need that information to get to them for things like community funding. So make sure you get that out there.
Yep, that's right. Now, for some of you that might be out of the loop, we asked on social media your opinions on how the federal census was playing out. We put the question out there on all of our social media platforms, and if you weren't on social media and didn't see it, well, since you're not on social media, you're the luckiest people of all, quite frankly. But we still got enough response from it. As Casper said, about 85, 86 individuals took the time to respond to us, and we do appreciate that. And most of the response was, nope, haven't received it yet as of that period of time. And again, it was days before or a day or so after the quote-unquote deadline to have the census information in. Kira then tracked down some information, talked to a representative with Canada Census, and they were able to share some of the details. And quite frankly, it comes down to there weren't enough bodies on the ground. If you don't have enough people to distribute those actual pieces of paper and that information out and about in your community, it's going to be late. So that's something they need to take care of next time around. It did feel, and we even talked about this in the office, didn't we, Casper, as a collective? Even before we put the question out there, even before the deadline was close, everybody felt like, man, this feels really rushed this time out compared to 5 years ago.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there was a lot of discussion on that. And something Ken mentions in his column this week as well is that it was advertised previous to the deadline for the census date. However, I think it was like the paper of the 7th, so that's not a lot of time to let people know. If you need to let people know that, hey, there's a deadline coming up for this very important piece of paper that you have to fill out, you need to get it out like at least a couple weeks sooner than the deadline. That it was just a really, really tight crunch there between the paper actually coming out and the May 11th deadline. So bit of a scramble for sure.
Exactly. There was a full-page ad that appeared in, as Casper said, it was a May 7th, I believe. One ad. And I'm sorry, everybody, maybe they think everybody is on Instagram. Maybe they think everybody's on Facebook. Maybe they think everyone's on Twitter. But they're not. When you look at the numbers, there are still a large contingent of people, the people you need to reach, that aren't on those platforms. Hell, I just went onto Instagram like 4 months ago. My life had been perfectly fine before Instagram, and now I'm on there, and I just keep tracking down dog and cat videos, and they're so adorable. I'm getting off track here, and that's what social media does to you, put you off track. But yeah, they really should have, quite honestly, done a better job of getting it out to newspapers, out to radio, out to television. That's the problem with way too many organizations. They think if they tweet it, that's mass distribution because they had 4 likes and they had 3 comments. And the feds are just as bad at it sometimes. And I'm not even just rallying against the fact that they do this for newspapers. There were hardly any ads I heard on the radio for them. There were hardly any commercials during prime opportunity would have been during the newscasts for the provincial stations, I would have thought.
Yeah.
But you didn't see any of those on a regular basis. It was just unprepared, unplanned, and quite honestly, a little badly done. But again, that's my opinion, and I'm allowed to have that, and maybe I'm wrong. And you shared your opinion as well, and we do appreciate that. So hopefully 4 years from now, when the next census happens, maybe they'll figure it out. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, it does make a lot of sense, and it is very true. Just speaking to my sort of education before coming here, I did have to learn a little bit about marketing stuff because first year is like a bit of a mix between like the web stuff and design and all that and printing and video and whatnot. So we learned a little bit about advertising stuff. And one of the big things was that social media isn't the catch-all that a lot of people think it is. Most of the time, you're only going to see things because you're looking for it. And honestly, how often do people actually look for government pages to see what's going on? Probably not very often. And in general, for like events and stuff, you're only really going to find it if you are following that specific page and your timeline does decide to show it to you. I know for this job, I definitely check government pages more because we're always looking for the COVID updates and whatever else they might be putting out because of the pandemic. We have to cover that. So, but we're an outlier there. So organizations really need to get their events and stuff like the census out onto a whole bunch of different platforms, including print, as soon as possible, to really let people know about it, because not everybody uses the same thing. And again, with social medias, just because it's out there doesn't mean everybody's going to see it.
That's right. Again, you can find that story on page 1, page A1, and page A8 of this week's edition of the Banner Press. We're 2 sections this week, so A section you'll be able to find all that information. On page 2 as well, we got some wonderful pictures and an update on a story that was very concerning for our friends a little south of us in the community and near the community of Carberry. Wildfires had occurred. They broke out due to a lightning strike over the weekend, apparently, near CFB Shiloh, and they just spread like wildfires. There was a lot of concern. There was about 25 evacuations of homes in and around Carberry. It was that concerning. There were several fire departments from all over, including for a time Neepawa, that had to go down and had to assist in this. Fire bombers came in because there were certain areas of the woods where they just couldn't reach on foot. Fortunately, as we're talking to you right now, things have stabilized. Things are under control, and that's wonderful to hear. It's the second such wildfire issue this year already that the community of Carberry has had to deal with in one way, shape, or form. They also had one in early April that we reported about, and that's really worrisome. I'll throw to you first, Casper, here, but first, shout out to Tim Smith and the Brandon Sun. They were able to share with us their pictures from being on the ground, some amazing pictures. So you'll be able to see those with our story on page 8 too. Casper, what's your takeaway on how everything sort of played out and just the dry season we're dealing with?
Well, what can you say about it, really? Very glad to see that, it didn't start the fire, that is, because of like an accident or negligence on the part of an individual, ignoring the really dry conditions we've had. Of course, that aside, it's still scary nonetheless. It was a very severe thing there, and, just started with a lightning strike. And I actually remember just hanging out at the house and hearing the thunder roll by, and then I think just like a couple hours after that, I could smell just a little bit of smoke coming from that direction. I was wondering what the heck was going on there, and then of course found out the next morning. So definitely very, very scary. I'm glad that it turned out okay. I don't remember if we heard that people have come back into their homes or not, but
yeah, we didn't get it in this paper, but just early this morning I heard that people were being allowed back in there, so they were there was that sense of normalcy happening again. But it could have been a whole heck of a lot worse, and we're very fortunate. Hopefully third time is not the charm when it comes to something like this. They've had 2 already, so hopefully there isn't a third. And so you can find that information. You can check it out on the pages of the Banner Press. On that same page, we've got a very interesting story Kira was able to get details on. We found out this last week, and we're very mildly surprised and happy to be able to share it with you. 100 vaccines were distributed to Harris Pharmacy recently, but they were not the AstraZeneca ones that every pharmacy had been receiving. They had been 100 Modernas. That was part of a case study, a sort of a project to see how distribution of those types of vaccines would go to rural areas. And again, not even really rural areas. I think it was a couple pharmacies in Winnipeg, one in Brandon, and I think one in Dauphin, along with Neepawa, that ended up getting them.
Yeah, I think it was 2 in Winnipeg.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. And the thing is, the little caveat they had with it was that they had to be distributed as quickly as possible, because Moderna, in terms of a normal refrigeration, has a much shorter shelf life than AstraZeneca. But according to Heather Todoruk, they had no worries about that, did they? Yeah,
no, they got stuff out really quickly. They administered a few doses on the 7th. And then they got the rest out of the way on the 10th and 11th. So it went by very, very quickly, and we're very happy to see that. It's always good to see this sort of roll out in the community. Definitely puts minds at ease, I'm sure. And, hopefully they'll get more doses of Moderna in the future. I know the clinic pharmacy, is really hoping. So they just have to wait to hear word from the government. So fingers crossed.
Yep, that's right. Fingers crossed and shoulders, sleeves rolled up and ready to go. So wonderful to be able to share a little bit of that new information in this week's paper. All right, let's go over to, this is a little more lighthearted, but okay, maybe not lighthearted. It's wonderful to see youth interested in these types of things still to this day. And this is your story, Casper. You were able to share with us this week a pair of individuals from Brookdale who have really gone above and beyond when it comes to science and sort of science fairs, haven't they?
Yeah, we're sort of going from one science thing to another here, but yeah, 2 Brookdale students have moved on from regionals to the Canada-wide Science Fair. So congratulations to Haley Dennis and Emily May. It sort of was happening like as I wrote the story and as the paper is going to print that this is taking place here. And actually today they are doing the awards ceremony. So we'll be able to find out very soon how they did. But congratulations to the 2 of you for putting in the effort that you did. And, good luck.
Oh, yeah, no, it's great to be able to sort of single out and spotlight people like this. And as Casper said, we will be, hopefully in the very near future, next week or maybe the week after, be able to talk with them about the experience. It's really interesting and unique, obviously, because of the COVID-19 situation. They are not able to sort of physically travel to the National Science Fair. There's a lot of video conferencing stuff going on, but they've been able to think outside the box and still give every single one of these young people an experience they're going to remember, doing virtual tours of buildings and facilities and major facilities in and around Ottawa. So hopefully they'll be able to share some of that with us when and if we're able to sort of make those arrangements. And hopefully we'll be able to sort of talk about how well they've done as well. But even if they don't, this is still, you've always got to look at it this way. It's a tier system. They're already on that top tier. There's a very select group of young people who are involved in the National Science Fair on a yearly basis. This is elite status, even right now. So if you see them, if you see their families, commend them on that. And win, lose, or draw, whatever. I mean, this is something that they should be able to sort of take with them. Very appreciative.
Absolutely, yeah. I really hope that it's been very fun for them despite all the COVID stuff going on, and definitely like whether or not you guys get a top spot in the national, definitely be very, very proud of the work that you've done. I know that the community is, so kudos to you.
That's right. All right, let's shift over from science to politics. And we got a story that's very interesting. I was able to track this information down, and it's a story we are going to be talking about in one way, shape, or form a lot up until the next federal election. You now have a new option to check on the ballot when it comes to the federal election. And they're called the Maverick Party. You may have heard of them before by their former name. They were formerly known as Wexit, play on Brexit out of England. And now they've decided to change it to something a little more legitimate, Maverick. Although, do you really want, I said this, do you really want a Maverick controlling everything there? Don't you want stability? The Stability Party, you know, that sounds a little better, but they made their decision, Maverick Party it is. And for those of you that don't know what Maverick is all about, imagine Bloc Québécois, but for the West. They're not happy with the representation that Western Canada gets on a national level. They are extremely upset about the situation. They feel as though decisions are always made out of Lower Ontario and out of Quebec. And these are represented individuals who are sick of feeling like they are second-class citizens in terms of national policy. And they want to do something about it. That's commendable. That is commendable. Having said that, and this again is my opinion, this is not the opinion of the Banner Press, this is not the opinion of NACTV, and this might not be the opinion of you. But part of their platform is we want ability to sort of help with the Constitution and shape sort of the discussion, or separation, our own independence on that. And that's where I go, whoa, I was with you. I was with you right up until that part. But you do you, all right? Much like I am very iffy on the Bloc Québécois having the ability to have a national voice when they don't have national representation. Quite frankly, Bloc Québécois, put a candidate in Moose Jaw. Then we can talk. And that's quite honestly the same thing with the Maverick Party. Maverick Party, I hope that you have representation. I hope you put candidates in Nova Scotia. And I hope you put them in Gatineau. Because otherwise, you're just mucking up the works. But again, that's my opinion. And this story isn't an opinion piece. It just lays out the facts for you to interpret and for you to go through. No judgment here. I put a little bit extra judgment here on this show. But that's what this show is about. To be able to talk about what goes on behind the scenes. And this is what happens. Let me throw it to you, Casper. Another party, another option. There's so many options nationally. It's, it is what it is, isn't it? What's your take?
Yeah, I mean, things keep changing. We've had a couple new parties form. I think in the past little while.
The People's Party from the last election.
Yeah.
And all the regulars: Conservative, Liberal, NDP, Bloc, Green Party. There's a lot, but choice is good.
Yeah, choice is good. There's certainly parties that I'm not a fan of, but it is very good that we're not a two-party system. That is something that, we should definitely be avoiding. But Maverick Party, definitely not going to get my vote. I can say that outright. I'm not, I don't foresee myself voting for them, ever. Just being completely honest here, since the whole, Wexit stuff started, I've not liked it, one bit, so, yeah, won't be seeing that check mark on my ballot for sure.
Well, we'll see how this plays out. For all we know, we won't have to worry about the next election until October 2023, or 2022, I believe. No, 2023. But quite honestly, yeah, most likely sometime this year. If I were a betting man, I'd probably say sometime this year, get ready to take a tiny pencil and mark an X on a piece of paper.
Yeah, I can kind of see it happening. Just with pandemic stuff going on, I have my fingers crossed that we don't, but we'll see.
Yeah. It can change in a moment, in a heartbeat. All right, let's shift over to something a little bit lighter. Many people have sort of seen several trees, about 24, 25 trees, uprooted from the Neepawa Cemetery. Few people, including one of the letters received for this week, were up in arms about it. We decided to chase down some of the information about why these trees were removed. So I talked to representation from the town of Neepawa, and they explained the situation to me. They're being replaced. The spruce that were in there, though they were shaped and they were beautiful from a distance, when you get a little bit closer, you could see they were starting to age out, they were starting to rot, they were starting to die. And there was a severe beetle infestation as well that was impacting every single tree there. That's unfortunate, really unfortunate, because those shaped spruce were really quite majestic, I thought. But they will be replaced, and they will be replaced this year with a wide variety of trees, with evergreens and with other varieties, and they will be going in over the next few weeks and months. So it's a trade-off, If you like the spruce, that's understandable, but the town of Neepawa is optimistic that you will definitely like the new design and the new shape. And it is part of sort of stage one of the recreation of Riverside Cemetery, about sort of making it better and more sustainable for years to come. So we'll see how that goes. Let me just ask your opinion on that overall, Casper. Any thoughts on that?
Well, I think the story will definitely put some people's mind at ease. It's very understandable that people have been concerned about what's going on at the cemetery because, it is a pretty nice site there, and people want to make sure that it stays nice. They want it to be a beautiful place where their loved ones have been laid to rest, and people can come and visit it and keep it that way. But yeah, it's unfortunate, but they did have to come out because those trees were not doing well. But hopefully people will like the new ones that are getting put in place there, and hopefully those new ones will stay healthy for a really long time, and we can keep things looking good.
That's right. Just a quick shout out as well, on the same page as that story, a picture by Diane Warner of the Banner Press. Got a really nice sharp picture of a bee. You can see the pollen and all that on there. So we're doing pretty good for some interesting pictures this week in the paper. Just wanted to sort of spotlight that one before we moved on to our final specific story we're going to cover on this week's paper. Let me just answer that phone first, and then we will get on to that. All right. So, but let's talk about something that cheesed me off a bit, because the press release, Casper, and you were in the office, the press release came out 15 minutes after we went to print last week. And I actually texted the marketing manager jokingly. I wasn't serious. It was like, dude, come on. The press release I'm talking about is the now former Neepawa Natives Junior A hockey team over the last year, the Neepawa Junior A hockey team, announcing that they will be announcing their brand new name. And they will be doing it on June 7th. It's been about a year in the making. Here's a little sort of all the different logos they've had over the years. Just personal shout out. 2 of those I designed myself, but you can sort of decide whether they were good or bad on your own. But they will be coming up with a new name and a new logo, multiple logos, a primary and a secondary logo. And from the bits and pieces I've heard, they are really optimistic about the feedback and the response the community is going to give to this. Derek Peterson, the marketing manager, said, we're looking forward to seeing how this plays out. And head coach Ken Pearson was also the same, saying there's been a lot of work that went into this, and he feels like Neepawa will be proud of it. And I hope so. I really do. Because hockey is, even if you don't go to hockey, it's a big part of the national collective. And for some people, hockey is sort of what they might know Neepawa from. But, let me ask your opinion on that, Casper. I mean, it's been a year in the making. What do you think?
I mean, I'm excited. I'm not huge into hockey, much less local hockey, but I'm very curious to see what they've come up with, both in terms of a name and a new logo. I'm just really looking forward to it, really. Like, I'm very curious, I have to say. Like, there's so many different things that it could be for the name and the logo as well. And just from a design perspective, like, I want to see how it looks. I want to see, like, what the colors are that they chose, all that sort of stuff. So I'm really looking forward to that announcement date. That's
right, and that is, if I remember correctly, June 7th, and you can see it here on NAC TV. They will be doing the showcase and the unveiling on this station, so mark that on your calendar. Looking forward to it. We're pretty much wrapping up the end of our show. We didn't even have a chance to get into the B section, the Farmer's Advocate. 8 pages, a lot of local information. This is one of the better advocates we've had, probably the best version of the advocate we've had this year, and one of the top 3 since we've started doing this, quite honestly. This one I think we're pretty proud of, and hopefully you'll take a few minutes, even if you're not into agriculture, to learn a little bit about agriculture. So that's something we're proud to be able to sort of share with you every single month, even though it's a little extra work. We don't mind a little work now and then, do we? No.
Gotta do something, right?
That's right. They just don't pay us to be talking heads. But that's about it for this week's edition of the Story Behind the Stories. If you have a news tip or a story suggestion, give us a call at 476-3401. Or you can contact us at news@neepawabanner.com. We would love to hear from you. If you want to send us a letter, thumbs up, thumbs down, anything like that, it's always appreciated. We want to be able to serve you the best way we can, both on the page and right here on NAC TV, each and every week on this show, The Story Behind the Stories. Thank you.